We've each picked our top 10 films of 2001, and on this show we'll be highlighting selected titles. Then at the end we'll read our separate lists of the year's best. I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. My countdown begins with the funniest movie of the year, Shallow Hal. Jack Black plays an incredibly superficial slug who is put under a spell. Suddenly, everyone's looks reflect their personalities. To the world, Gwyneth Paltrow is a plus-size wallflower, but in Hal's eyes, she's a stunner.
What do you weigh, 110, 115 pounds?
Which one of my butt cheeks are you talking about?
Okay. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Trust me, whatever you're doing, it's working. It is working.
Go on.
Oh, my God!
Like everything the Farrelly brothers do, Shallow Hal is offensive and tasteless and shocking and hilarious. Who else would dare set scenes in a children's burn unit in a comedy or use disabled actors who crack jokes at their own expense? Now, by putting Shallow Hal on my list, I'm not saying it's better than more substantial fare such as Monsters Ball or Lantana, but I'm saying this was the best film of a genre, so I'm giving it a spot on my top 10 list.
Who else would do things like that? Tom Green. But apart from your...
I guess it's all in the execution.
Yes, apart from your rhetorical question, I liked it too. You know, the politically correct people felt that it didn't have the right attitude toward persons of size. Yeah. And I felt its heart was in the right place, and I knew exactly what it was trying to say.
It was very funny, but also very sweet.
Okay, the number 8 film on my list breaks with tradition in the sense that this movie never played in movie theaters. It was made for HBO. It's a movie both intelligent and heartbreaking, the drama Wit, starring Emma Thompson as a woman dying of cancer. She's a professor of English literature who filters her own suffering through the disciplines of the poetry that she loves.
Yes, it is mildly uncomfortable to have an electrocardiogram, but the agony of colonoscopy sweeps it from memory. Yes, it was embarrassing to have to wear a nightgown all day long. 2 nightgowns. But that seemed like a positive privilege compared to watching myself go bald.
The movie is merciless in showing how hospital routine robs her of her dignity, and it's awesome in the way she struggles with every ounce of her humanity to keep her self-respect. Wit was based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning play by Margaret Edson. It was directed by Mike Nichols, who wrote the screenplay with Thompson. And if Wit had played in theaters, there was not the shred of doubt in my mind that Thompson would certainly get an Oscar nomination for her best work on film.
That's absolutely true. You know, we've talked about a lot of really strong films that have played on HBO and Showtime this year, Dinner with Friends and Things Behind the Sun. These are quality theatrical level films with big stars that just happen to find homes on premium cable, and thank goodness that premium cable exists so that we get to see these films.
I wish Wit had just opened in New York and LA to qualify, because it really is the great film this year that got away from the Oscars.
Maybe they should start doing that with some of these films just so they are eligible.
They should, yeah.
Okay, number 8 for me is Happy Accidents, a weirdly effective hybrid of 2 genres that rarely meet, romantic comedy and science fiction. Marissa Tomei shines as Ruby Weaver, a much disappointed single gal who still believes in love. She falls for the frighteningly smart and romantic Sam Deed, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, but there's one small hitch. He appears to be insane.
I was born on May 8th, 2439, in Dubuque, Iowa, on the Atlantic coast. What? That's right, the Atlantic coast. It moved in a little bit after the ice caps melted in 2330.
Sam's wild tales of his life in the year 2470 would be enough to send most women to court to get a restraining order. But Ruby's heart tells her she should believe in this guy, whether he's psychologically damaged or really from the future. Somehow, writer, director, editor Brad Anderson makes all of the pieces of this odd puzzle fit.
It's not on my top 10 list, but I liked it too, and I like that chemistry between D'Onofrio and Tomei. And you know, I'm thinking this movie's about a guy from the future who falls in love with a girl from now. And we also have a movie coming out called Kate and Leopold about a guy from the past who falls in love with a girl who lives now. And so, obviously, next year there's going to be a movie about a guy from the future and a guy from the past who meet at the present moment and fight for Julia Roberts. What do you think?
You're exactly right, because it's Marissa Tomei and Meg Ryan, and only in the movies would women like this have to go backward or forward in time to find a decent guy.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. Coming up next, more of the best films of the year. Continuing our survey of the best films of 2001, the number 6 film on my list is Waking Life, a significant breakthrough in animation that also happens to be enormously entertaining and thought-provoking. Richard Linklater's hero embarks on a dream journey through Austin, Texas that takes him from one guru or deep thinker to another, some of them self-appointed, all of them pontificating on the meaning of life.
I'm afraid we're losing the real virtues of living life passionately, the sense of taking responsibility for who you are, the ability to make something of yourself, and feeling good about life.
Most feature-length animated films are very expensive. Waking Life wasn't because of a software breakthrough that allowed Linklater's team to animate it on ordinary desktop Macintoshes. What it means is that the theatrical animation market has now been opened up for independent filmmakers. This was the year's most important technical milestone.
It may not have cost a lot of money, but it looks rich and lush.
Yes.
And I mean, if you told me that it was one of the most expensive animated films ever made, I'd believe that. But more to the point, it's entertaining. The writing is good, and the acting, which really becomes almost voiceover work because these people have been painted over, is really strong. So I didn't quite have this on my top 10 list, but it was really close to making.
Well, you know, I loved it too as a movie, and that's important to the people who are going to go see it because they don't really care about the technical breakthrough. But I think it will mean more range in animated films in the years to come.
And I hope it finds a bigger audience. I'm sure it'll get nominated in the new animated category for the Academy Award, and I hope people check this out on DVD and video. Okay, and the number 6 position on my list is the electrifying Amores Perros. This is a gonzo Mexican art film from Alejandro González Iñárritu that bounces around chronologically while telling multiple stories. In one tale, a young man is in love with his sister-in-law who is trapped by her low-life criminal husband. He also trains his dog to fight on the underground circuit.
¿Viste del desmadre que armó tu perro?
Sí, ya me enteré.
¿Y cómo la ves?
Bien, ¿no? Chido.
¿Chido? Yo la veo bien pinche mal, cabrón.
Then there's a popular model whose life is shattered when she's crippled in an automobile accident. And finally, there's the former political activist now skulking in the shadows of life while tending to his beloved pack of dogs. With 3 stories that intertwine and separate like strands of DNA and a devilishly black vein of humor running throughout, this film begs comparisons to Pulp Fiction, and it's nearly as effective as Tarantino's much imitated classic.
This movie is in the special jury prize category of my top 10 list this year.
Nice.
It didn't quite make the top 10, but it's in a tie for 11th place. And I did love it. I love the cyclical nature of the story and the way it doubles back on itself, and I love the irony of what happened. The dog that gets trapped under the floorboards, for example. You can't describe it to anyone in terms of how compulsively watchable that sequence is.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on with dogs, and never before have I been, so skeptical of that no animals were harmed in the making of this film. I'm sure it's true, but the dog fighting scenes, I mean, some people would be sickened by them, but they're very real, and the dog theme going throughout this.
You know, I ran in the Answer Man column a whole explanation from the American Humane Society about how, in fact, no dogs were harmed, because it's hard to believe.
Then people can enjoy this for the original piece of work.
Because it sure looks like they're being harmed. When we come back, more titles from our list of the year's best films. Our salute to the year's best films. The number 5 movie on my list is Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. I haven't been a fan of many of his films, but this one fascinated me from beginning to end. It takes place in a Hollywood that is part Tinseltown, part film noir, and all dream.
This is your purse. Your name must be in your purse.
And stars Laura Elena Herring and Naomi Watts as 2 women, or are they really just one woman, involved in a murder mystery, or is it a murder, or is it a mystery? Even if you can't figure out a single thing, the film is compulsively watchable with its images of eroticism, mystery, Nancy Drew-style adventure, bizarre auditions, and creepy theatrical performances.
I kill you.
Are those 2 heroines real or a figment of the imagination of a third person? Are they aspects of the same personality? Mulholland Drive leads us into a mesmerizing labyrinth, and afterwards, it teases us with possible interpretations.
Well, I've got it at number 3 on my list, so I obviously loved it. And I recently went back and watched it again after reading, and I don't always like to do this, read all these analyses on the internet and people having different theories. But this time, I have to say, it really enriched my experience, and I enjoyed it even more the second time, even thinking about the various theories.
You know, the TV critic from the LA Times attacked the nation's film critics for liking this film. And said it made no sense at all. It was just a TV pilot that was cobbled together, and we all fell for it, and the emperor has no clothes. Actually, I'm telling you, I have given thumbs down to one David Lynch movie
Yeah,
after another. And as I watched this film, I was completely fascinated by it and drawn into it and entertained by it and absorbed by it from beginning to end. I don't care what its source was, whether it was made for TV or whether it was made for David Lynch's home movies, it works.
Okay, my second favorite film of 2001 is Vanilla Sky. This was Cameron Crowe's beautifully orchestrated cover version of Alejandro Amenabar's Open Your Eyes. On one level, this is kind of a deceptively sunny variation on The Matrix, with Tom Cruise perfectly cast as a rich, handsome, cocky guy who has the world cupped in his hands. But whose world is it exactly? Does it even exist outside his mind? In this movie, Cruise boldly embraces his own image as the biggest star in any room he inhabits, and then he strangles that persona until it turns into something repellent. His character turns ugly, not because he's physically scarred, but because he's mentally and emotionally warped. Vanilla Sky is a see-it-twice challenge to the imagination and to the mind and to the spirit, and I thought it had the most breathtaking cinematography of the year.
You know, Mulholland Drive was third on your list. This is second. I think I can guess what is first. And so you have really embraced this year these puzzle films.
I really have.
I like them too, because when a movie is on automatic pilot with a plot, when I can predict what's going to happen next, I get a little, you know, underwhelmed. And when a movie keeps me alert at every second with the very nature of its reality, that can be fascinating, as it is in Vanilla Sky.
Well, and the things with these films, if they were just stunts, then you're aware of the stunt and you go, okay, but it's more than that. It's the execution of it.
Okay, the number 2 movie on my list is Black Hawk Down by Ridley Scott. And just from a logistical point of view, this is one of the best military movies ever made. Scott analyzes what went wrong and why in a disastrous U.S. raid in Somalia in 1993 when 18 U.S. troops were killed and support just couldn't get to them. William Fichtner and Ewan McGregor are among the soldiers who were in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong way.
You all right? You okay? Yeah. I can hear the bells ringing. Come on! Come on!
Black Hawk Down is about an operation that was confusing even while it was underway, and the brilliance of Ridley Scott's direction is that he makes that confusion clear to us. As we face possible ground combat not far from Somalia, this film is infinitely more timely and useful than an inane shootout like Behind Enemy Lines.
Well, Ridley Scott is an action genius. There's no disputing that. I mean, sometimes I don't want to know how things are done, but I can't wait for this thing someday to come out on DVD and see the inevitable making of feature. I can't even fathom how he was able to put together these amazing, amazing battle sequences.
And it all takes place within an area of several square blocks in Mogadishu, and which could easily have turned, in the hands of another director, into just a baffling maze. You don't, you know, people are just shooting at each other from out of corners or shadows, and you really understand it, and you see heartbreakingly how it goes wrong.
Amazing stuff. Okay, coming up next, our picks for the best movie of the year. For me, it was a clear choice. Memento, Christopher Nolan's ingeniously inverted puzzle about a man with short-term memory loss who's searching for his wife's killer. Nolan stacked one scene atop the other in reverse order, so it opens with Guy Pearce's character of Leonard shooting the man he thinks is the killer, and then the movie unfolds from there like an origami video on rewind.
I don't remember. I have no short-term memory. It's not amnesia.
You're the memory guy.
How do you know about me?
My boyfriend told me about you.
Oh, yeah? Who's your boyfriend?
Jimmy Grants, do you know him?
No.
Well, he knows you. He told me about you. Said you were staying at the discount. In fact, a cop came by earlier and was looking for you.
The net effect is that we identify with Leonard because it feels in a way as if we too are unable to make new memories. Each scene only makes sense when we see the scene that follows it, which is actually the scene that precedes it chronologically. I've seen Memento 3 times, and it not only holds up, it resonates even more powerfully with each viewing. Hitchcock would have loved this movie.
Hitchcock would have loved it, and I did too. You know, it's interesting how many movies on your top 10 that are not on my top 10 are movies that could have been on my top 10, indicating that maybe this was a better year at the movies than people thought. And Memento, which I saw for the first time at Sundance, I think you did too, was really absorbing in the way that it works, with the main plot going backwards, but then at the same time the black and white stuff was going forward until it all kind of meets up at the end, and it's going to be around for a long time.
I hope so. I hope so.
The #1 film on my list is Monsters Ball, starring Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry, as two people who begin a tentative, desperate relationship in the face of overwhelming personal difficulties. He is a racist prison guard who was just supervised in execution. She is the widow of the man who was just executed. At first, they don't know that about each other, and they're attracted not so much by romance as by loneliness and need. Listen to this shy, careful dialogue.
This music all right with you? Because I can change it.
It's cool.
You ain't got a car?
It's broke. Saving to get me another one.
Monsters Ball is not a liberal message picture. It's the specific story of these two particular people who have enormous problems and overcome them almost in opposition to their own basic natures. The film has the complexity and depth of great fiction. It doesn't settle for easy story formulas, but shows how and why these characters who have different kinds of desperation find each other and hold on for dear life. Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton give great performances, and rarely have I found character motivations more convincing or more real.
It's a tremendous film. I don't know, I just couldn't quite find a spot for it in my top 10, but it's number 10A or 11, or if you, like you say, the special jury prize. And I think Billy Bob Thornton gives the performance of his career, as does Halle Berry, and just so many moments in this movie that resonate with you. It's a kind of movie that really makes you want to talk about it afterward, you want to think about it, you want to see it again.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Peter Boyle character, Puff Daddy's convicted inmate who's going, you know, that's a harrowing scene
Yes,
just to start this film. The whole process of him going to the electric chair.
And you know, at the end, when they do what they do, especially when Halle Berry makes the decision she makes, you leave the theater thinking back in your mind through what she was thinking of.
Yeah.
And I've even had some more thoughts about that lately, which I better not reveal until more people see the movie.
But the way the movie ends, it's like when you close a really good novel and you kind of just hold the book for a second and think about it.
The lives are still going on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, coming up.
Films. Number 10 on my list, Robert Altman's Gosford Park, a brilliant balancing act with a house party full of murder suspects. Number 9, Ron Howard's A Beautiful Mind, another fine Russell Crowe performance as a man who tries to reason his way out of insanity. Number 8, Mike Nichols' Wit. Number 7, Paul Cox's Innocence, the lovely love story of two people who still feel the same passion when they meet again after 50 years. Number 6 on my list, Richard Linklater's Waking Life. Number 5, David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. Number 4, Terry Zwigoff's Ghost World with Thora Birch and Steve Buscemi as two quirky oddballs who form the most unexpected relationship of the year. Number 3, Todd Field's In the Bedroom, with Sissy Spacek and Tom Wilkinson playing a couple looking not so much for revenge as for a showdown in their marriage. Number 2, Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, and number 1, the best film of the year, Mark Forster's Monsters Ball.
And now for my favorite movies from last year. Number 10, The Farrelly Brothers' Shallow Hal. Number 9, The Deep End, with Tilda Swinton as a fiercely protective mother. That film was directed by Scott McGehee and David Siegel. Number 8 was Brad Anderson's Happy Accidents. Number 7, Bob Giraldi's Dinner Rush, a great food movie starring Danny Aiello. Number 6, Amores Perros, directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. Number 5, I Have in the Bedroom, which also features strong supporting turns from William Mapother, Nick Stahl, and Marissa Tomei. Number 4, A Beautiful Mind. It's harsh and jarring and uplifting. Number 3, David Lynch's haunting look at Hollywood, Mulholland Drive. Number 2, Vanilla Sky, directed by Cameron Crowe. And number 1, Memento, an original and daring thriller from Christopher Nolan.
So only 3 titles are on both lists, which shows that there are a lot of titles out there when they get to video stores for people to look for.
Yeah, I would. Most of the picks you have, I'd have at number 11 or 12 or 13. A couple of them I wouldn't have at all. But I think it says it's a really solid year for good films, if not a ton of great films. 2001.
Well, 4 of yours I wouldn't have at all, but nevertheless they're good films. But I think maybe there is one.
Fine, then there's a couple of years I got an issue with too, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay, remember you can learn more about our second annual film festival at sea at our website, ebertandroeper.tv, and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week we'll be back with more big holiday movies, including 2-time Oscar winner Kevin Spacey in the shipping news, and the week after that, the worst films of the year. Until then, the balcony is closed.
You know, I'm probably going to be the only guy or woman who's got Shallow Hal in my top 10, but critics are always complaining that comedies don't get recognized, but they don't recognize them.
I liked Shallow Hal, and I liked Jack Black in Shallow Hal, and I liked Gwyneth Paltrow, so I'm not going to complain.